Have you ever just stood by a river or looked out at the ocean and felt something, a kind of calm, maybe? Or even a little thrill of discovery? Well, today we're diving into the surprising science behind that feeling. We're going to explore how it all connects back to our brain, our emotions, and believe it or not, our desire to do good. So here's a question for you. What in the world connects a pretty risky hobby, a clean river, and the actual chemistry happening inside your brain? It sounds like a bit of a riddle, right? But the answer, well, it tells us something really fascinating about what makes us tick, what drives us to clean, to connect, and yeah, even to seek out a little bit of danger. Okay, so our journey starts with a hobby that has been kind of quietly exploding in popularity. It's one part treasure hunt, one part environmental cleanup, and it all kicks off with just a powerful magnet and a rope. It's called magnet fishing, and yeah, it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. People are out there tossing these super strong neodymium magnets into rivers, lakes, canals, you name it. And you honestly never know what you're going to pull up. Could be scrap metal, a lost bicycle, or it could be something much, much older. But this is where it gets complicated. Because on the surface, it seems like a fantastic way to clean up our waterways, right? But what's hiding down there in the muck isn't always just harmless junk. So on the one hand, you're doing a good thing, you're pulling out pollutants and all sorts of debris, but on the other hand, especially in places like the UK, those waterways were sometimes used as, let's say, unofficial dumping grounds for military explosives. In fact, in 2020, a 6-year-old kid magnet fishing in the River Mole pulled up a live World War II mortar shell. That's the kind of gamble we're talking about. So it really makes you wonder, why do people do it, knowing those risks could be there? And that question, that takes us away from the riverbank and straight into the incredible complex wiring of the human brain. You know, for some people, the risk is the reward. A psychologist named Marvin Zuckerman actually developed a tool for this called the sensation-seeking scale. It's basically a way to measure this personality trait, that drive for new, intense, and complex experiences. We're talking anything from bungee jumping to, yep, you guessed it, fishing for unexploded bombs. But being a sensation seeker isn't just about physical thrills. It's also about wanting new experiences through, say, travel or art. It can mean you have a tendency towards disinhibition, and you probably have a really low tolerance for being bored. When you look at it that way, you can see how magnet fishing could tick a whole lot of those boxes. But here's the thing, the adrenaline rush, that's only a tiny part of the story. For a lot of the people who are out there cleaning up waterways, the motivation is way less about risk and way more about a really profound sense of connection and purpose. And this brings us to a really interesting concept called effective labor. It's basically work we do, often for free, that generates positive feelings, not just in ourselves, but across our whole community. Just think about that deep satisfaction you feel when you see a clean park or a riverbank that you personally had a hand in creating. That's effective labor. And the research really backs this up. Environmental volunteers aren't just, checking a task off a list. They're driven by these really intense emotional bonds to their homes, their neighbors, and even the plants and animals that share their space. That feeling of connection, that's the real payoff. And there's this amazing common thread that ties all of this together: water itself. It turns out that just being near water has a scientifically proven powerful effect on us. A marine biologist, Dr. Wallace J. Nichols, actually came up with a term for it. He calls it blue mind. It's that feeling of calm, that peaceful, almost meditative state we slip into when we're near water. And it doesn't matter if it's an ocean, a river, or even your bathtub. It's a real, documented state of being. Dr. Nichols puts this in contrast to what he calls red mind. And that's our default state in modern life, right? Anxious, stressed out, totally overstimulated, with our bodies just flooded with stress hormones like cortisol. Blue mind is the antidote. It's this state of calm that lets our brains breathe and opens us up to clarity and creativity. So how exactly does this work? Well, first, water just simplifies what our senses are taking in. That big, wide expanse of blue and the steady sound of waves, it gives our brains a much-needed break. Second, if you actually get in the water, it can trigger our dive reflex, which literally slows our heart rate down. And third, just being near water can cause our brains to release dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, all those awesome feel-good chemicals. So, okay, what happens when you take this built-in biological connection we have to water and you combine it with those emotional rewards of giving back to your community? Well, you get some truly incredible results. Let's look at a real-world example here. There's a nonprofit called the Russian River Keeper in Sonoma County, California. Their whole mission is cleaning up the Russian River, and their work is powered almost entirely by volunteers. And the impact is just staggering. Last year alone, these volunteers removed over 423,000 pounds of trash from the river. I mean, we're talking everything from tires to plastics to hazardous waste, all pulled out by hand. And get this, during their big annual cleanup event, a single day, volunteers hauled out 28,000 pounds of garbage in one day. That right there is the power of a community that's truly connected to their local environment. So it's really no surprise that Sonoma County was ranked #1 in California for volunteerism. Their rate is more than 10% higher than other communities in the state. There is clearly something special going on there. So, after all that, what have we learned? What's the big takeaway from our little journey that started with a risky hobby and ended up in the chemistry of our own brains? Well, it seems that what pulls us to the water is this really complex mix of things that are just deeply human. For some, sure, it's the thrill of the unknown, but for others, it's the deep emotional reward of caring for a place and a community. And for pretty much all of us, water offers a path to that blue mind state, a feeling of calm that's not only healing for us, but it's also a powerful reason to help heal our planet. So whether you're out there casting a magnet or just taking a walk along a riverbank, it's worth remembering that the water reflects a lot more than just the sky. It reflects a deep part of who we are. Makes you wonder, what might be hiding in your local waters? Thanks so much for joining me.